Let's talk for a little bit about how you imagine emotional disorder. When you're just thinking about the nature of what an emotional disorder is, what are the ways that you think about it? This is actually coming from a thread on locals from earlier today, but I thought it'd be good for everybody. Thought I'd give it more broader exposure by using it in an orange slice. And by the way, I had a zit right there on my lip. I woke up with it this morning. Weirdest place for a zit. I just took care of it. Kind of gross. So anyway, talking about how we imagine the very nature of what an emotional disorder is. It matters because it affects your whole outlook. It affects your whole mood when it comes to how you're going to how much enthusiasm you're able to generate toward ridding yourself of the disorder, or in how you approach the disorder and things like that. So it's really important to have a kind of an accurate understanding of the very nature of the emotional disorder. If you're anything like me, when you're starting out, like let's say when you first find out, man, I got borderline personality disorder or some other emotional disorder, you imagine it sort of like something that is spread throughout your system, almost like a disease or something. And over the years, you kind of, depending on how much time has passed that you've been living with that disorder, you might think of it as being, spreading throughout your system and just increasing in density, or, in the level of infection within your system. That's one way to think of it. It's kind of how I started off thinking about it when I first realized that I had borderline personality disorder. I was trying to wrap my mind about, the very nature of what it is. Well, let me tell you, that's not a very encouraging way to think about it, as being some sort of like disease, that has penetrated your very muscle tissues and your bones and everything. Because then when you imagine ridding yourself of it, you say, where do I even start with something like that? Also, it's overwhelming because you say, how am I going to get every bit of that out of my system if you're thinking about it in that way? Let me give you a much more accurate way to think about it and a much more constructive way to think about it. I'd like you to think about it as the foundation of a tower. The emotional disorder is the foundation of a tower. Now, let's say that every year the tower grows another foot. Does it matter how tall the tower is? Not when the foundation is the problem. Does it matter how many floors there are to this tower? No, not when the foundation is the problem. When you think about taking this tower down, so you just want to destroy the tower and build a new tower, do you have to start at the top floor and dismantle this tower floor by floor? No, that's the hard way to do it. But what's the easy way to do it? The easy way to do it is to just destroy the foundation. You destroy the foundation, what happens to the tower? The whole rest of the tower comes down. So don't get too distracted by the tower itself. We can say that the tower that is built upon this foundation, we can say that that's all the years of effects of living with the emotional disorder. It can even be the symptoms and the things built up on this foundation. So much less overwhelming to think about it as the foundation of a tower. We're all focused on that foundation. We all have the same job ahead of us, to focus on that foundation, undo that foundation, destroy it, and then the whole tower, all the effects built up on that foundation will come down. But you see how it's much less deflating when you're not looking at the entire tower and saying, man, where do I even start? You know where to start, at the foundation, because if you take out the foundation, the whole rest of the tower will come down. Also, it's much more encouraging to know that you have a place to focus on, rather than to imagine the disorder as something spread throughout your body that you can't even get a hold of. It's, where do you even start with something like that? Well, the good news is that emotional disorder is not like something spread through your body. It's like a tower. It's like the foundation of a tower. And all you have to do, all everybody has to do, no matter what stage of life you're in, no matter what, is focus upon that foundation, what all of the effects of that disorder, which is the tower, have been built upon. You take that out, the rest comes crumbling down, and your job is done. So just an encouraging message there about the nature. When you're sitting around imagining the very nature of this emotional disorder that you might be dealing with, the proper way to imagine the nature of that, not like some invisible thing spread throughout your body, like on a molecular scale, but like a foundation that has a tower built up on it. And we're not focused on all this, we're focused on the foundation. We're going to undo that, let the tower come down, then we're going to build a new tower from a much healthier foundation.